Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fairfield County SCORE's webinar, Increase Sales by Attracting More of Your Best Customers. I'm Tim Ryan, a business mentor here at Fairfield County SCORE. I'll be your host. Our speaker today is Alexander Nouveau. More on Alexander in just a minute. First, let me share some brief info on SCORE. SCORE is funded by a grant from the Small Business Administration. So all of our services are completely free of charge. There are about 300 SCORE offices in the US with over 10,000 volunteers. Fairfield County SCORE is one of the largest and highest rated chapters in the nation with over 100 volunteers, comprising a wide range of expertise. We offer 3 evaluated services to small businesses, which are all accessible from our website at fairfieldcounty.score.org. First, we provide free one-on-one counseling through face-to-face meetings, telephone calls, emails, and video conferencing. Second, we produce over 100 educational workshops and webinars each year on topics of relevance and importance to small businesses. We also have quite a library of our recorded webinars on hand. And third, we have extensive resources and tools on our website, including templates to help you build your business plan. So let's get started with today's event. If you have a question during the webinar, please use the chat box located in the lower part of your screen. To respect your time, our webinar will end promptly at 1 p.m. This session is being recorded, and the link to the recording will be available within the next couple of days. Now to our speaker. Alexander Nouveau is the founder of a real estate lead generation company, an executive resume service, and recently NouveauStartups.com, which is a company that helps business owners rapidly scale their businesses. Alexander, it's all yours.
Thanks for the intro, Tim. Appreciate it. Welcome, everyone. In this workshop, we're going to be talking about how to increase your sales by getting more of your best customers. Now, before we start, I always like to do an icebreaker just because I want to hear from everyone in the audience. And it's also a good way to make sure the tech works and stuff, and the Q&A, and y'all can respond in the chat. So if you're just joining, I'd love to hear from you. I want to know the name of your business, and the icebreaker is, what's the most interesting food or foods that you've ever tried? And since I knew the icebreaker question, I will go first. My name's Alexander Nouveau, and the most interesting food I've tried is snails. I had it for the first time probably 20 years ago, and I was very surprised. It's escargot. And I was actually in New Orleans last weekend, and I had it again. It was actually pretty good. So I liked the first time, I tried it again. So first person to respond in the chat is Andrea. She's an exceptional writing coach and education. She's tried rattlesnake. Ah, man. I wonder how that would taste. Did you have that? Was it fried rattlesnake? Was it like alligator? We got Sargento audio video. He's had shark. Apparently, people here like to eat apex predators. Perone Group. He'll get back to me on that one. Irma will get back to me. Patricia, artist. I don't know what abalone is, or pastel. I can't even say that, but it sounds interesting. I got Scott, foreign language. Got octopus. Wow. All right. got some consultants. Sea urchin. Okay. It's got squid. Ostrich. Huh. Now, did you eat the ostrich itself, or did you actually try one of the eggs? I'll listen to hear about it in a second. Alligator's good. Yeah. Very good. Okay. So we got a lot of different businesses in here, and got a lot of great participation. The ostrich itself. Wow. Okay. I didn't know you could do that. All right. Well, thanks everybody. I'm glad that everybody's here and the chat's working. I'm glad y'all are here. Let us begin. So today we're going to talk about a few things. First, we're going to how to find your best customers, and these are the folks who pay, stay, and refer. We're going to do a case study of American Express and what you can learn and put into your business today. Talk about how to structure your business to attract those best customers of yours and repel the folks you don't want, and how to stand out from the competition by creating an offer so good that customers would feel silly saying no to it. Now, before that, I'm going to tell you all a story. Now, in this story, you got to remember, this is me. So at the time, when she first started coughing, we just thought it was a cold. but colds don't have a very distinct rattly sound to it. And then she started gasping for air. And I could see her lungs expanding, but it was like she was getting air, but she was drowning. This was in March of 2020, and the COVID pandemic was just starting. Now, for those of you who were around back then, which is all of us, we all remember what that was like. And my wife in Austin, Texas, was one of the first COVID cases in the country. Okay. Now, if you remember back then, this was March 2020. And that's remember when the entire economy shut down. Remember when they said stay at home, the streets were empty, nobody was outside. When you went to the grocery store, you wore like protective gear to go out. Yeah, I remember, everyone remembers that. And the problem is when they shut all this stuff down, my thriving business shut down too, which means I had no sales, nothing. And people were scrambling. This is when remember when they announced the layoffs and there was 33%, like 20-30% of the country laid off, and they were doing these PPP loans. Well, customers were scared, and so they started begging for refunds. And I was in a spot where I didn't have any money to give to them because I was out. On top of that, my wife had COVID, was getting worse every day, and really at the time, there was nothing I could do. Now, from watching the news, we all knew what happens when somebody went to the hospital. And remember, this is when it first started. If a COVID patient went on a breathing machine, they often didn't make it home, okay? So 10 days into having this, after getting worse every day and having a hard time breathing, she said those words. She said, I can't breathe. We need to go to the hospital now. And thinking back, I can talk about it clearly now, but I remember when I was there, time just stopped. And I had never felt true terror until that moment. And when you have situations like this, my mind was asking one question: what if I took her to the ER and I never saw her again? That's the question I kept on thinking. And at that moment, I felt like I was going to lose everything and never feel happiness again. Now, I can't remember the drive to the hospital, but we were met with doctors in hazmat suits. We were the first patients, the COVID patients, to be there. So they were full-blown hazmat suits. We were terrified. We looked at each other, and I remember when I left, later went to the car, her tears were all on my shoulder because how much she cried. And I hugged her as long as I could because I didn't want to say goodbye, because you never know if that's the last time. And eventually the doctors separated us and they let her in the hospital. And I waited in my car for 3 hours because I didn't know what was going to happen. And this was a point in my life where I had thousands of dollars of bills, nothing in new prospects, and the fear of losing my wife after only 1 year of marriage. Now, sitting in my car, I can't tell you how it feels to you're just dazed, and I fell back into a corner. My life was crumbling. I had to do something because I'm not a person who just sits around. I had to survive. And at that moment, there's a feeling of powerlessness when you know there's nothing you can do to change an outcome. And I couldn't control what happened to my wife. That was in God's hands at the moment. All I could do for that was wait and pray. But I'm the type of person who says to himself, I can do something. So I had to figure out something to do with my business. And I had to make a decision to learn how to survive. So today, from this moment, I'm going to teach you the things that not only made me survive in my business and help me stave off bankruptcy, but made me more money than I ever made in my entire life. But it's important that you know where this came from, because a lot of times entrepreneurs tell you their success story and they kind of just gloss over the details. That's not my story. My story was literally broke. My wife was in the hospital. I had to figure out something. So I want to tell you my story. I'll introduce myself before I get everything. My name is Alexander Nouveau. I built and operated 3 businesses. One's an executive branding service, a real estate lead generation company now, which is Nouveau Startups, which helps other business owners become success stories. As a kid, I was a bit of an odd kid growing up. Instead of watching sports like everyone else, I was obsessed with business and investing. Imagine that nerdy kid reading all the books. That was me. I read books about my hero, Warren Buffett, and would read anything to do with investing. In 2015, while sitting at a Starbucks, minding my own business, by the way, I was picked up by a girl who would later become my wife. Now, she denies picking me up, but I keep telling her it's her fault that she sat next to me and not my fault that I started up a conversation. Well, a year into meeting her, we started dreaming about our future. We wanted what every couple wants: a house, a family, a life worth living. But all those dreams cost money, a lot of money. And looking at my career, I didn't think I could get there at 9 to 5. So I quit my job and I started a few businesses. Some of them failed, some of them stuck. And that brings us to March of 2020, which, like most business owners, I suffered the worst moments in my business career. I had $1,000 of bills, no customers, no prospects. I had to get creative. I had to hustle and figure out how to make some gold. And that brings us to you, because I understand who you are, because I myself am a SCORE success story. I was in your shoes several years ago. I had a mentor, and that person helped me grow to where I am now. So if you're here today, you're here for a variety of reasons, and I'm going to list them off because I was in your shoes. One thing you might want is you might just want to earn a decent living, which you want to build a business doing something you love and just make enough money to be comfortable. Some of the folks here, that's just what you want. That's great. Others folks here, you want to build a world-class business. You want to either be a millionaire or a billionaire, and you want to change the world, be wealthy, and give back. You know, whenever I talk to business owners, one of the big things is, and this is myself, and this is why I'm here, is when you are successful, you think about the people who got you there, and you think about the people who gave you a chance, the people who helped you fund your education, the people who gave you coaching, and the thought is, I want to give back. And so if this is you, this is wonderful. You may want some flexibility. 9 to 5 is hard when you've got a family. Having your own business lets you control your schedule, but still earn a decent living. Regardless of the reasons, we're all here for one thing, which is to live our dream life. Your business should be enabling your dream life. That's it. The business is meant to be here to get you to what your dream is. Now, running a business is hard. I'll list out some of the common pain points you're facing, and if you're also facing them, feel free to list them in the chat, because it's good to see what everyone else is facing too. So one thing, this is very common, you're either feasting or you're having a famine. What that means is you have too many customers at once, and then you're having barely any other times. And the problem is there's no flexibility or predictability. In some months, you're nothing. Or worse, you're starving. After paying your bills, there's barely anything left to live at the end of the month, and you got to dip into your savings. Or you're feeling analysis paralysis. There's lots of options out there on what to do next, but you're not sure what to do. I can't tell you how often I hear people say, okay, I'm here. People are telling me I should do some social media. I should do some SEO stuff. I should do some social media marketing. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to do everything and I'm not getting any results. I'm doing all these things. I'm tired. That happens when you're given all this overload of what you should do. It's hard. So if you feel this way, that's okay. A lot of people feel like this. Or worse, you feel stuck. You've tried a lot of different options and you put a lot of time and effort and you try really hard, but you feel like you've plateaued. Okay. Regardless of the pain points, we're all here to learn about ways to grow our businesses. So today, what we're going to learn is we're going to learn how to find the best customers. We're going to talk about the case study of American Express, how to structure your business, how to stand out from the competition. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is American Express. And I want to give you an example of a company that has less customers, but way more profit per customers. And I want you to listen to this because this is stuff that you can put into your business today or tomorrow. Now, without going into too much detail, here's a look at the raw numbers American Express operates versus their peers. Just in the United States, Visa has 343 million cards. That's more cards than people. Mastercard, 249 million cards. That's a lot. IMX, American Express only has 53 million. That's a lot less. Visa has 7 times the amount. Mastercard has 5 times the amount. It's way smaller. Now, for the inexperienced person, they may look at this and say, wow, it must be great to be Visa or Mastercard. While it's true, it's better to be Amex. Here's why. Let's take a look at the revenue per customer. I'm going to ask you all to respond in the chat with a guess here in a second. But Visa makes $21 per customer. Mastercard makes $18 per customer. What I want you all to do in the chat is take a guess. How much does Amex make per customer? Patricia says 253. Steve, 121. $100, 150, 50, 75, 307, 500. Wow, Sandra, you're really $500. Wow, it's a lot. All right, you guys ready? Now, I want to be careful. I don't want you to fall off your chairs. So make sure you're, I'm just being silly, of course. $366 per customer. Wow. Sandra, if you want to know, you're the closest person who's gotten. Most people guess below 366. You're the first person who's actually gotten close. I mean, everyone else is close, but like, yeah, nice job. Wow. Doesn't that blow your minds? Amex is the clear winner here. They have way less customers, but 16 times the revenue. So ask yourself this question. Now that you've seen this, would you rather, option one, have more customers who kind of like your company, or less customers that love your company and are way more profitable? Option two, duh. You want more money and less customers to service, right? Yeah. So why is it that most businesses out there are trying to win every customer instead of focusing on the most profitable ones? Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is it pays in profits to focus on a smaller group of your best customers. This is the group that's the easiest to work with and the most profitable. If you're dealing with customers who are hard to work with and unprofitable, wouldn't you love to just tell them no thanks, not work with them? Pretty nice, huh? One of my favorite quotes from Dan Kennedy is this: customers are either welcome guests or annoying pests. If you're trying to serve everyone, you're going to have an annoying and unprofitable business. If this is your business, which some of you are, and by the way, I want to make sure you understand, when I first started, I thought that I had to serve everybody. So I bent over backwards to make the customer happy. Customers have different requirements. I tried to serve everybody, but I was unprofitable. I wasn't making any money. So the question I asked myself one day was like, well, this sucks. Do I want to do this for another month? No. What about 10 years? Heck no. So the question I'll pose to you is this: if this is your business and you're trying to serve everyone, which is okay, I mean, everyone does it. I did that. Do you want things to go like this for another 10 years? I think the answer is probably no. So the next question becomes, well, let's say you have 10 customers. You know how this works. You know who your best customers are. Of the 10, 1 or 2 of them are awesome. They're the ones who easily pay their bills, you love working with. And then 1 or 2 of them are the horrible customers who, they take up all the time. They don't want to pay you. They try to negotiate down on price. They complain about paying. They're hard to work with. Then you got people in the middle. Well, what happens if you just work all your customers with the top 2? How would that change your business? Now, sometimes this is a very simple thought exercise. And when you know it, you're like, oh yeah, duh. But like, if you were like me who tried to serve everybody, then I hope what it does, it helps you think about this differently. Because the lesson to be learned here is be more like Amex. Focus on your best customers. Ignore everyone else. And if they say, I'm going to take my business elsewhere, let them. It's one of the best gifts you can give to your competitors and yourself. Seriously. This is the one thing that can literally double your profits. Think about it. If somebody offered you more money, but you only had to do half the work, would you say no to that? Of course not. So think about it. If you're able to double your prices and you have half the customers, you're making the same with less work. That's what this is all about. Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is something called the commodity problem. And this is usually the main culprit why businesses aren't making any money. Well, not any real money anyway. I'll give you an example of how the commodity problem works so everyone can understand it. Let's say you're driving down the street and you see 2 gas stations. One gas station has gas for $3.75. The other one's $3.74. Now, let's assume everything's equal. So there's not any hassle going to each one. It's equally the same, identical gas stations. Well, which gas station do you pick? Well, option B, you pick the lower cost option. There's no benefit for you paying more, so you choose to pay less. Okay, I get it. You'll see why this matters in a second. Let me give you a small business example. Let's say you're a plumber who is working a 9-to-5 job, and one day you decide to quit it and open a plumbing business. So for pricing, you do some research and you look at other plumbers and you decide, okay, I'm going to do the same work, but I'm going to charge a little less. So your offer is, hey, those plumbers are charging $100 and doing 3 things. I'm going to charge less. I'm going to charge 90. I'm going to do 4 things. So your offer becomes, I offer customers a little more, they pay a little less. That's your offer. And you get to work plumbing and you start winning lots of new customers. It's great. You love to be in business. You love to be your own boss. But then a few months go by and you start getting fewer customers. You call around and you find out that other plumbers match your prices. So now they're offering $90 for all 4 services. And there's 3 new plumbers in town. All of them are charging $80, so less, and giving away 5 services, so more. And so you drop your prices to $80 and you say, I'm going to do 5 services too. This happens a few more times, and all of a sudden you're only charging $50 and providing way too many services away for free. Here's what happens. After paying your bills, you realize that there's barely anything left when you only charge $50. You start having to dip into your savings to make ends meet. And you start to hope that a miracle will happen and next month will be different. Things don't change. You start asking yourself, why is this happening? You're a hard worker, so you put in even more time. Now you're working 80 to 100 hours a week. You drop your hobbies. You miss your son's baseball game. Your friends and your loved ones become strangers because you're working all the time. Despite everything you do, your business is not making any money. You're out of ideas. It's so unfair. You just want to be able to do good work and feed your family. Why is this happening? Sadly, this business owner became a victim of the commodity problem. And when your product or service is perceived as a commodity, customers will choose the lower price option when they think it's the same. And you all got to see what that was like when you looked at the gas station, you chose the lower price option. This problem will keep profit margins thin and make it hard to make an actual living. If your business is viewed as a commodity, it means that you're going to struggle to make the kind of profits that we like changing. It will also make it hard to scale, hire staff, and do other things that you need. So the question is, how do you fix it? And before I move on to this, I want to say a few things. Sometimes when I share this presentation, I have people say, you know, I'm not a commodity. I have a higher grade of service. And I agree with them that they have a higher grade of service. But then my question to them is, well, what do other people in that higher grade charge? Oh, well, you know, 150 to 300. So is that the range of the commodity? And then the light bulb clicks on, they're like, oh my goodness, you're right, I am a commodity. Because it's not just one thing. Like you can have like an average plumber who makes $100 to $110, a below average plumber who makes 70 to 80, and then an exceptional one making 120 to 150. They're still different. They're still commodities because based on the quality level, there's a range of what you can make. And I don't know about you, but do you want to be limited based on what everyone else does? Are you as good as they are, or are you better? Well, if you're better, shouldn't you be able to make 10 times what they're making? What's stopping you from charging 10 times more? Well, it's a commodity problem, right? So, and this happens to everybody. It's not just businesses. Think about salaries. If you apply to a job, they say the salary range is 150 to 200. Well, shucks, that's a commodity. Entry level, this is your range. Mid-level, this is your range. I don't know about you, but do you want to be limited by what they're telling you that you can make? Why can't I just walk in and say my rate's $5 million a year? We don't think like that. We are so indoctrinated with this commodity problem that it limits our income ability, not just as business owners, but people in general. So if you want to make I mean, again, this is for you, but if you want to escape this problem and be able to make the kind of money that will change your life, and again, this is for folks who want to earn a decent living and the people who want to be millionaires or billionaires. Well, what if you can get out? What if you can fix this? What if you can escape the commodity problem? Do you want to be stuck by it? No, you want to escape it. So let's talk about the solution. You fix it with your offer. Wait, offer? What do you mean fixing my offer? What's wrong with it? Here's what an offer is. An offer that you're presenting to a customer to start a commercial relationship. It means you offer a product or a service for a price, like an exchange. So in the gas station example, their offer was for $3.74, we'll give you a gallon of gas. You say yes, you pay them, and now you've got a relationship. That's an offer. Now, normal businesses have very simple, basic offers that make it easy to compare apples to apples. Now, if there's one phrase that you should hate for the rest of your life as a business owner, it's apples to apples. Because if they can compare you apples to apples, what that means is you're being commoditized. Do you want to be a commodity? Heck no. No way. No way, Jose. Okay. So going back to our plumber example, when I first started, they said, hey, the plumber's offering 3 services for $100. That person charged 90, added 4. And in this case, no one makes any money because you have a race to the bottom, price-wise. As much as folks talk to me otherwise, and by the way, I want to be in agreement with you. I want to open your eyes to what's out there. People will say, well, I'm not a commodity. And I agree, you're not a commodity. You are different, you are unique. And I don't want you to be commoditized. I don't want you to think about yourself as, I can only charge this range. I want you to think about 10 times higher that or 100 times higher that. How do we make those kind of life-changing things? That's how I want you to think about it, okay? And so the key here, though, is it's not what you think, it's what the customer thinks. It's their perception, because their perception is what matters. So you're probably perception-wise being commoditized, and we can fix that. And it happens to everybody. It happens to the gas. You saw it happen to the plumbers, SaaS startups. That's just software as a service. It's true for everybody. If you want to make any real money out there, you have to create an offer so good that a customer feels silly saying no to it. Here's an example of a slam dunk offer. Now, this is one of my favorite offers of all time. Now, Dan Kennedy talks about this all the time, but this is a real example. And once I share this one with you, I will give other ones. But if you want to learn something, you want to really learn how to, if there's one thing that can change the trajectory of your business, it's this. It's slam dunk offers. So really take notes here. I want you to internalize this stuff, okay? Because if you can learn how to make offers that are so good, people would feel silly saying no to them, this will change the trajectory of your business. And that's why you're here. You're here to learn, to get your dream. And really, this is the stuff that really is the secret sauce, okay? So this is an example that we want to study and learn, and I'll give you some lessons that we learned from it, okay? So here's the story. In Las Vegas, there was a casino in the 80s and 90s, and it was the worst performing casino on the strip. They had terrible numbers. And a new CEO took over, and they decided they had to do something to get more customers and turn things around. So he made a slam dunk offer so good that people couldn't refuse. So let's hear the offer. Here is what it is. For $397, I will give you a 3-day, 2-night hotel stay. Okay, sounds reasonable. You will have alcohol anywhere on the property, anytime, anywhere. Okay, that sounds pretty good. I like that idea. And you can have all the food you want anytime, anywhere on the property. You guys ready for the kicker? And to top it off, I will give you $1,000 of our own money to gamble at our casino. If you heard that, would you book it? I would. I don't even gamble. So it's an amazing offer. Of course you would. It's amazing. Now, why did this offer make so much sense from the hotel's perspective? Now, I want to pause here for a second. People look at that and say, of course they want to get the casino. They're going to make money from people gambling. And true. but they made more money by their other offers, because as soon as they got you in, they had other things that they sold you, and they made more money per customer than anybody else in Vegas. That's how powerful this was. So but here's the things that you need to write down and really pay attention to. The question you need to ask yourself is, why did such an offer make sense from the hotel's perspective? Why is this so magical? Well, first off, when the hotel sells it, they get all that money up front. Imagine if you sell 10,000 of these and you get $4 million deposited in your bank account. Well, when do you pay staff or pay the cost of somebody staying? Not until a lot later. And their average person coming was not until 18 months later. So for a year and a half, they got to sit on this money. And they can use it for more marketing, hiring staff. This casino was literally under construction as they built the casino from the ground up, floor by floor. They're using the funds to build it and fulfill more orders. Also, it got people into the hotel. So I mentioned the gambling thing here, but for you and your business, what you can do if you have a customer in there is, as soon as the customer buys one thing, they're ready. Their buying itch has not been satisfied. They probably want to buy other things. So I think of it like this: when you go to the grocery store, how often do you buy one thing? How often? Probably not pretty rarely. When my wife sends me to the grocery store, she's like, "Hey, babe, get me some milk." I come back with 10 things. It's the same thing. When you go to a hotel and you show up, the first thing they say is, "Hey, thanks for taking our offer. Here's the next offer. Here's what you can buy." And they were so good at making offers and so profitable. That's where most of their income was made. But they thought about this differently. They didn't think about selling one thing. They thought about, like the grocery store. Well, how do I get this person in here so they can walk out with more items in their cart? That's how we think about it. Now, the key to the story is you need to get creative and come up with slam dunk offers that do two things. Number one, make an offer so good they'd feel silly saying no. And most important, it has to make business sense. So for example, it gets people there so you can offer them other things. And what matters is not what you sell one thing for, it's what you sell the entire cart for. Because you can't just give a bunch of away stuff, we'll talk today. You can't just give a bunch of stuff away for free at a loss. It has to be great for the customer and great for the business. Now, when you build a slam dunk offer, here's what's going to happen. You will literally 10x your sales, because your offer will stand out and people will line up to buy it because it's that good. You will double your profits because with all the other things you offer, it'll be insanely profitable. And all the other things that you offer will be insanely profitable because you've already paid the customer to be there. Now, here's a couple things that I want to share about offers. And I have small business examples of how you can make slam dunk offers. And in the question section, I will talk about some of these. But I use this particular one in a case study because I think it's so powerful way of thinking. Other ones that I've seen is, and I'll give you a quick example. We'll use a plumbing example because we talked about the plumbing business. So this is an actual plumbing company that exists right now in the United States. And here's what their offer is. All the other plumbing companies do everything. They do commercial, residential, they fix stuff, they install stuff, they do rehab, they do everything. This company doesn't do that. They only do one thing. They redo bathrooms. That's it. The one thing they do is they are amazing at redoing bathrooms. And so all they do is bathroom remodels. So all their techs are trained on is bathroom remodels. Now, let me ask you this. Who do you think is better at doing remodels on a house for bathrooms? Somebody who that's all they do, or somebody who does everything else, installs, fixing, all these other things? The person who specializes. Now, their prices are double or triple everyone else's. And they do it on purpose. They're like, we're triple the price, here's why. And the question they ask their customers is, like when you do a remodel, what happens if something goes wrong? What happens if there's a leak behind there that they don't tell you about, and all the mold and all the damage? Do you want to trust it with somebody who this is all they do and this is their expert has, and we've got 5-star reviews, all these awards, or do you want somebody who they just do this as everything else? Well, the right buyer, somebody like me, looks at it and says, I want the people who specialize because I know what it's like to have the cheap person and have to deal with the fallout of buying the cheap option. And when it comes to services and somebody remodeling a bathroom, I want to pay money for the person who knows what they're doing, who's going to fix those problems. Because I don't know if you've ever had mold in your house. It's horrible. It's health degrading and it's expensive. I don't want that. So I want to get the best person. So they have the best awards. They've got the best teams. They have the best salespeople, they have customers line out the doors, and they have offers that are three times what everyone else is. And if they're not high enough, they raise their prices to be like that because people value that and they buy it. So, you can do things like on one side of the slam dunk offer is the casino offer I told you about, like $397. And the other offer is the specialist offer, who really focuses on one customer, one type of buyer, gives them massive value and charges double or triple or even higher than that. So when you're thinking about your small businesses, these are the kind of the two spectrums, but that's kind of how you want to think about it. And for me, my business is my executive branding service. I'm a specialist, so I can charge a premium price because I offer a premium service for a premium customer, and they're going to pay it. And I've got customers lined out the door, and that pay up full, and my best customer, and because what I offer. You can do the same thing in your business, and you should. If you don't, it's also, I don't want to go too much off my presentation, but being a generalist means that you're broke. Specialists are the ones who make the money. All right. Next thing we're going to talk about is a concept called the one domino. And again, this is another concept I want you to perk your ears up and I want you to internalize, because this is something that's going to change your life. It comes from Tim Ferriss. He's the author of the 4-Hour Workweek. Now at a conference, Tim was asked about his morning routine. And what we found out was his routine was different than everybody else's. Instead of getting to work immediately and grinding all day long, he did something unique. First, he'd wake up and enjoy his coffee. He'd go on a walk, he'd journal, then he'd think about his challenges. What I want to point out is he's not checking his phone, he's not checking his text, he's not checking email, he's not getting into the day of the fires. Instead, he asks himself one question: what one big thing can I knock out that will change everything in my life and move things forward? Once he figures that out, he puts all of his energy to knocking over that domino. Rather than focus on busy work and just putting out fires all day, he just focuses on the one thing that's going to change everything for him and make big changes in his life. Because once he figures out that domino, everything else will fall over too, and things will just get knocked off his priority list. You can do this for yourself. And this is what I mean here. If you can figure out what this one domino is and put all of your energy towards knocking this over, what one thing can change your business forever? And you might not know this yet, okay? This also comes from experience and knowledge. You don't know what you don't know, okay? That's just how it works. You only know what you know. But I know what you need to do, and I'm going to talk about it in a second. But this is how you think about your life. Because if there's one thing you can change and you can put all your energy, imagine all the fires you've got to deal with all the time at work with your business. One of the things I said was get rid of your horrible customers. What happens if they just disappeared and you had your best customers all the time? What if you got to charge double or triple what you're making? What if that was your life? Pretty nice, right? So that's the thing I want you thinking about, because we want to change your life here. So to truly help you, I got to figure out what that domino is and knock it over in a way that'll change everything. So what is the domino? I've actually given it a lot of thought, and I put a lot of research into studying some of the most successful people in the world. This is business gurus like Steve Jobs, even all-star athletes like Michael Jordan, even 500 years ago, Leonardo da Vinci. They all had one thing in common. What was it? They all had multiple Yodas. For those non-Star Wars fans, that means they had several guides. These are coaches, these are mentors, people who were in their corner advising them and helping them become their best version themselves. The folks who believed in them and rooted for them. People who took their raw talent and developed them into the best versions of themselves. The key I want to point out here is that they had several mentors, not just one. You're going to need people who can guide you on a wide variety of topics. And also, I'm going to take a second here. This is a plug for SCORE. The educational opportunities are amazing. I'm literally a success story from SCORE. So keep it up. You're here. I'm glad that you're here. Okay. So what I'm saying though is you need to meet smart people who are world class in their area of expertise to guide you. Why do I say that? because running a business is hard, probably one of the hardest things you're going to do in your entire life. I'm going to give you an example, and you're going to see why it's hard, because sometimes it's not until you actually hear a story where it really changes the way you think about stuff. Okay. So what I want you to imagine, that you have to climb the stairs of a skyscraper that's 1,000 stories tall. It's so tall, you can't even see the top of it because it's blocked by clouds. It's huge. That's pretty massive, okay? Like this thing goes up forever. Now, here's the thing. At the top, you know with 100% certainty that you're going to find a treasure chest that has all of your dreams inside it. And we're not joking here. Like, you know, absolute certainty that it's there. Well, you're going to go up that thing pretty fast, right? How long would it take you to get those 1,000 flights of stairs? You got to walk. Probably going to take you a full 16-hour day, and you're going to be exhausted. But if you have all of your dreams in that chest, you're going to do the work. Why wouldn't you if it's there, okay? Now, running a business is more complicated than that. So let me give you a real-world example so to quantify how hard running a business is. Now, let's imagine there's 1 million of these 1,000-story skyscrapers. And problem now is only 5 of them contain treasure chests. So 5 out of 1 million have treasure chests. You're going to have to walk up each skyscraper to find the treasure chest. Here's the problem. The ones without treasure chests, the non-treasure chest skyscrapers, they might actually hurt you. You could lose money going up the stairs, lose financial security, lose relationships, lose your marriage, have your reputation suffer, or you can lose your physical or mental health. You must choose the right skyscrapers to climb. And each day, you have to take 1 full day to climb the entire thing manually. My question to you is, with this example, how do you choose the right skyscraper? Okay, probably not very hard. Next question is, what's more likely to happen? You guessing right 5 out of 1 million times, or wrong the other times? What if you guess wrong for 5 years straight? 5 years straight. What happens if you lost your life savings, your spouse, and your health started to suffer from the stress? That's entrepreneurship. There's an easier way to do it. Let's say, again, let's start over again. And before you started searching, you assembled a trusted group of advisors to help you. By listening to them, you're able to narrow it down from 1 million to 1,000. And instead of having to walk up the stairs, your advisors show you the secret elevators that help you get to the top in 2 minutes. How long is it going to take you to find the treasure? Probably not that long. You see, the only thing in business that matters is outcomes. Outcomes are the results that you want. In our example, that was a treasure chest with all your dreams in it. For you, those outcomes are dreams. So let's talk about your dreams for a section, because I want to make sure you go into this knowing what you want. And I want you to pause for about 10 seconds and think about this, okay? And I'm going to read this out in the chat in a second. What do you really want? If you woke up tomorrow with all of your dreams fulfilled, what would the world look like? What do you want? Do you want time freedom, meaning the freedom to do what you want when you want it, and you can hire people to do the annoying stuff you don't want to do? Do you want financial freedom, meaning you can travel when you want, help your family financially, and the ability to volunteer and give back more? You want to travel the world? Do you want to buy a house for your family? If you feel comfortable, I'd like to hear about your dreams in the chat. I'll read some of them out. And while I'm waiting for people to type, I'll share mine. My big thing was, I didn't want to. I now my wife was okay after the COVID scare, and she was able to make a full recovery. But for me, the thing was, I wanted to have a family. Now I've got a 1-year-old daughter. She's amazing. I'll show you if you guys want to see a picture. I'll show you. She's gorgeous. She just turned 1 actually last week on Thursday. I wanted to have financial freedom. I wanted to have a house. I wanted to have time freedom, which is I could do what I want when I want it. I wanted to do contribution, which is kind of what I'm doing here, which is giving back. So let's listen to the chat. So Michelle says financial freedom. Dana says time freedom and financial freedom, mostly time freedom. Only got 2 people responding. So, and sometimes people's dreams, sometimes it's hard to share exactly what you want. But Kelly also wants the financial freedom. So Sandra agrees too. The key that I want to share with you though is that think about your business different, okay? What matters is outcomes. So this is what you want. Your business is a vehicle to get there. You don't get rewarded. Well, I'll go to the next slide. I'll talk about this. So I'm going to pose another question to you. Which one would you prefer? Would you prefer option 1, which is working 80 hours a week for 5, 10, 20 years with the hope that one day you're going to have what you want? Or option 2, working those same hours, but getting your dream in 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years? Which option do you pick? How about you? I pick option 2 every time. I want my dreams faster. I want it 6 months or a year. I want to wait 20 years. And I bet you want your dreams faster, which is why I recommend getting a group of skilled advisors around you, because that's what's going to make a difference. And if you ask any score mentor, they're going to say the same thing. But it's not just score. You want to have people who are world class in their areas of expertise. That's how you become more successful. All right. So in today's workshop, we went over why it's better to be Amex and about the core thing about focusing on your best customers. We talked about how you want to be ruthless on your focus, your best customer, and ignore everybody else. Talked about how to make slam dunk offers, why they're the way to escape the commodity problem. Finally, we covered the 1 domino, which is what you need to knock over to take your business to the next level. If you enjoyed today's workshops, I'll provide, and we're going to do questions in a second. I'll provide some ways to continue learning. Because by the way, when I was in your shoes, I would come to these all the time. So kudos for being here. When back in the day though, when I was doing this, they were all pretty much in person because this is before COVID. And what I would do is every resource a speaker had, I would take it. And then I would sprint to the back of the room and I'd ask them a ton of questions and pick the speaker's brain. That's just how I am. And typically, here's the thing, when a group does workshops in person, you'd be able to do it and I would give you that time. With virtual workshops, it's a little harder to have that natural sense of community. So what I will do is I will open myself up for virtual coffee for anyone who's attending live or watching the recording who wants to chat. And this link here, I'll put this in the chat here in a second, so you guys can schedule time if you like. And then we will. So everyone's welcome. All I ask that you have the motivation and desire to grow your business. All right, next is questions. And what I will do is I'm going to share some of the frequent questions I get from folks. So it's kind of different, and I'll give you kind of a good way to ask good questions too, because you're looking for outcomes. And so if I give you some instructions how to ask a really good question, it will help you get to an outcome better. So some of the things that you're going to struggle with are, I have people who say, well, I've got feast or famine. How do I get like a supply of customers that are, consistent? Well, it's a tough question to ask. There's a lot of variables, depends on business type and that kind of stuff. Other people ask me things like, well, how do I find this group of trusted mentors? Some people ask me, what are your thoughts on social media and stuff? So what's helpful if you're going to ask a question is to give me some context of what you're doing. So what your business is, what your pain point is, and what you're thinking. Because if you say, hey, I'm thinking about doing social media advertising, it's helpful to know kind of what your context is on that. If that makes sense. So let's go to the Q&A. First question is anonymous attendee. Can you get multiple score mentors? And I think that's a question for Tim, if you can answer. I only have one mentor.
Yeah, sure. We very often will use multiple mentors, pulling in the one that you want specifically. So my thought there would be, don't hesitate, sign up. And once you're there, if you want a specialized legal person or a specialized accounting person, we can always do multiple sessions with another mentor. And I would suggest that if you don't like the first mentor, ask for another mentor. There's certainly nothing wrong with that. Yeah,
and that's wonderful, because every mentor is going to have their own skill set and experience. You want to find somebody who's an expert at what they're doing. So if you can have multiple people you can talk to, that's wonderful.
And I see Luz has also asked, how do I find a mentor near Shelton? Yeah, it used to be that we would pair requests to the nearest mentor to that location. Obviously, if your mentor is in Greenwich, for instance, you would be a poor match for somebody in Shelton. So normally that you will be matched with someone nearby. And we do meet in person now in the Shelton area. We would normally meet at the Valley Chamber of Commerce, which is in Shelton, up in the Corporate Drive area, Progress Drive up in that area. Yeah, thank you.
Good questions. Now, a lot of questions I get are people want to know more slam dunk offers that people have used or different ways to stand out. So I can cover some of those too if we've got questions about that.
Yeah, I've run into that myself, Alexander, before. Some people are whether they're do bookkeeping or they do social media. They very often are in a situation where they're charging per hour, and you're never going to get rich if you're in that commodity mode, like you said. But if they can change the picture a little, they're not just a book. They're the personal CFO for this other small business. They're adding value by giving comparison information or guidance in addition to just bookkeeping. Or same thing with the social media area. They're not just putting in a couple hours to set up a website, but they're also going to monitor your social media, tell you, do Google Analytics for you, and give you advice on how you can improve what's there. That you can be more of a partner. That's how you become like a coach or a mentor to those other businesses. That's where your value is, really.
And I want to build on what Tim just said, which is value, which is when you charge only for your hour or you're viewed as commodity, that's not what they want. They want value. And so if you can move towards being more of the result and adding more value, but getting yourself away from charging for your time, you can get out of the commodity problem. And that comes from specialists. He mentioned instead of being a bookkeeper, you're a fractional CFO. That's a perfect example. It's changing the value that you're adding and being more of a value add. Got a question from Gina. How do you feel about growing your business through just word of mouth? No, follow-up question for you, Gina. When you say word of mouth, you mean like just doing a great job for your customers and having them refer you? Or are you talking about going to your customers and saying, hey, Mr. Customer or Mrs. Customer, I did a great job for you. Give some friends I could talk to, kind of thing, or both? Oh, while you're typing, I'll talk to both. Think of it like this. Imagine that you've got your bank account as a vault, and there's a pipe that just deposits cash into your bank account. And that's your business you've got now. But there's other pipes in there that you can remove the cap, and other funding or resources will come into your bank account. If you're doing word of mouth and you're doing just one thing, you're not getting the prosperity that will come to you from having other sources. And so, I've got a lot of people who are very proud that they've got businesses that they run that don't do any marketing spend. And my thought is, that's wonderful that you got this business, but there's these other pipes that have money at the end of them that want to come into your bank account and give you prosperity and feed your family that you're not using. And so you think of it like that. It's like, okay, well, I got this word of mouth and the success. How do I unscrew the cap on this other one to have other sources of prosperity coming to my business? And so it's not necessarily just about just doing one thing. It's doing the other thing that'll bring you prosperity. So Gina's response was both, but not influential people, not centers of influence, just regular customers. I think it's great. I think one of the reason I like your question so much is because you're putting the intention out there that your customers will, love what you do and bring more business. I think that a lot of businesses don't really do anything when it comes to referrals. They don't have a program to generate more referrals. So just setting the intention is great. Now, there are strategies that you can actually do in your business right now that actually make it a system to get your customers referring you business. If you want to do word of mouth, a lot of people think I'm doing great on referrals, but they find out that only 5 of their customers is sending them referrals. Well, what if you had 50% of your customers sending you referrals? There's things that you can do in your business that'll actually be a referral generator, and you should. And you should even do that before you do marketing, but it's perfect. I believe it degrades over time, but many pride themselves on word of mouth business and being super busy. The other thing with being super busy is, same thing. If you only are yourself and you only have, only one person who can do the work, you have your pipe is full of money that wants to come to you, but it's stuck because you're you're kind of the blockage there. You can't do anymore. So, it's also time to think about how to grow your business so the money can actually come to you. And when you talk about things like this, when you think about it like, hey, the universe wants to send me, because the universe wants to reward you for value. Because if you're doing great work and your customers love the work, you're going to have customers lined up around the block. And so then it's up to you to say, okay, well, do I want to just stay here, or do I want to get the money that's in the pipe to come to me, which is, expanding the pipe, which is getting more people or growing and that kind of stuff. But when you think of it like that, it changes the way you think about it, I hope. Do you have a few resources for ways to increase referral rate? I do. It's one of those kinds. So what I suggest you do is, if you want to talk with me, I can give you some more of those resources. It's my favorite thing is, and it's not my favorite. It's like, it depends. A lot of this has to do with the business type and what you're doing. A lot of the ideas are the same, but it's just different. Like if I said, here's how plumbers can do it. I mean, if you try to do it in a different type of business, it wouldn't work. So it really depends. But there are ways of increasing your business and getting more referrals, and it's easier than you think. Believe it or not, this may surprise you, but used car salespeople have some of the highest referral rates in the industry. And think about how I don't want to beat up on used car people, but like that's a perception as a consumer, is that's somebody you don't really trust. But if they have higher referral rates than your business does, what are you doing wrong and they're doing right about? And so a lot of doctors who heal people and make them, get better lives, they have lower referral references. But there's a few things you can do in your business. We could talk about it if you like. I give you some more detailed answer, because like as you see, I have to ask questions, and the answer is yes, but it's more nuanced. It's not like I hope you understand. I'm doing the best I can. I want to get you an answer.
I've gotten that myself just recently. Our dentist sent us an email saying, if you liked your last visit, please go to Google, rate my business, or whatever it was. So it seemed like they are out there soliciting, trying to generate some more positive spin, I guess, or advertising that way. Anyway, that's all the time we have for questions. Again, SCORE offers free individual mentoring, so please go to our website and request a mentor. For information about other SCORE webinars and workshops, please visit the calendar on our website at fairfieldcounty.score.org. You're going to receive an evaluation via email for today's webinar. We'd appreciate it if you'd fill it out. Tell us what you liked or didn't like so we can improve the program in the future. On behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's live webinar. In closing, a big thank you to Alexander Nouveau for today's presentation. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.